Well, is there any kind of an insect that doesn't do anything when you pick it up?
Does nothing?
Well, except for burning the shit out of you.
I wish I would have had that one, but I'm glad you got that.
Yeah, me too.
Burning the shit out. All right. Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad, and with me are my co-hosts,
Sam
and
Mike.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, check out our website at screamsandstreams.com for more information about all the films that we are looking at. Just a warning, if you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. We're taking a bit of a break. For our decade break, we're going to revisit movies that freaked us out. This was one of Mike's trauma-inducing movies. It is Jeannot Szwarc's 1975 film, Bug. It scored 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Sam, you have our summary for us. Take it away.
Sure do. An earthquake releases a strain of mutant cockroaches with the ability to start fires, which proceed to cause destructive chaos in a small town. The studies carried out by scientist James Parmitter, however, reveal an intent with much more far-reaching consequences.
That earthquake is pretty fucking insane.
I've got stuff on that later.
I was like, what is happening here? The waves.
The waves through the church. I was like, whoa.
You're stealing my only doesn't hold up? No, I have two. Okay.
Don't worry, I have 5. So,
all right, Mike, you have our sinister sip. What are we drinking today?
Today's sinister sip is the Cockroach from cookingguide.com.
What a lovely name for a drink. Okay.
Great color. Looks just like a cockroach.
Yes.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's 1.5 ounces of tequila and 1 ounce of Kahlua.
I like
You like the Kahlua?
I don't like the tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's
When I was mixing it, I was like, oh, this has a very strong, like off-putting odor. But once it was mixed and it tastes better
I'm
than it
going to
smells.
serve this gross smelling shit. It doesn't smell that gross.
The ice cubes have melted a bit and watered it down.
Yeah, I like the Kahlua in it. It's nice.
Alrighty. So we're going to move into our first impressions. And Sam, you're going to kick us off with first impressions of this lovely film, Bug. What did you think?
Lovely. This is not how I would describe it. Instantly, I hated it. It looks old as shit.
Yep.
Going back to the 70s, I think was a little bit rough, especially because we're just coming out of the 80s.
That was a hard jump.
It was, and it looked aged and old.
It really did, yeah.
It was long. It was slow. I kept checking how much longer. So I started it one night, and I thought I was like 45 minutes in, and then I looked, and I was 18 minutes, and I was like, no. Yeah, I think there were a couple parts of it that were okay. I just found it really slow and hard to watch that way. I can appreciate why it would kind of, trigger a phobia. I can see why it's creepy, and especially as a kid, I think it would have creeped the shit out of me. But I was just mad that it took so long. So.
When did you watch it, Mike? At what age did you watch this film?
I was somewhere between the ages of 8 and 10.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I could see an 8-year-old being freaked out by these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I texted you. I was like,
Yeah.
This movie scared you? What the fuck?
Well,
And he's like, not the plot or anything other than the bugs. They freaked me out. Yeah.
well, and when Mike had texted, he's like, I'm having a hard time getting through it. And I was like, oh my God, me too. It's so boring. And he goes, oh, no, it was the bugs.
I mean, the bugs.
I was like, oh, sorry. Yeah, so I'd never seen it before, obviously. And yeah, did not love it.
All right, Mike, what is your, I guess, second impression of this film as you watch it as an adult?
Yeah. Second impression, when the movie first started, I was like, oh shit, it's the wrong one. Because all I remembered was crossbreeding of bugs and cockroaches. And this was the movie that came up. So I'm like, oh, it must have been Bug. Perfect. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't have anything I remember. But once Parmitter ends up in his like cabin and doing all the research, I was like, oh no, this was the one. This was the one.
Yeah.
Terrible movie. Did not like it.
Yeah.
But I do have, and I looked it up because I've never looked it up. I do have catsaridophobia, which is a phobia of cockroaches.
Oh.
An extreme phobia. So this movie, like I said, like it was hard to get through because close-ups of cockroaches, the way they move, everything, even now talking about it, like my hair on my arms is like tingling.
Yeah.
Just, oh, it's fucking gross.
There's a lot of close-ups.
A lot of close-ups.
tons
And a
of
lot
them,
of
yeah.
sounds.
And a lot of sounds and like the way their arms move, their mandibles. Oh God, no. I remember watching this in my sort of second childhood home in the basement by myself, curled up with my feet like tucked underneath me because I didn't want to touch the floor. It was just like, and any like brush of cloth was like, yeah. So that just, it messed me up. And we moved when I was 9 or 10. So it was before that age. Yeah. I watched this movie by myself. Rewatching it as an adult, I still had that. I can't handle it.
Right.
Can't handle cockroaches. So the movie's terrible. The phobia kicked in extremely when I watched this.
Did I ever tell you my cockroach story when I visited Bali?
No.
I stayed in a, I guess, guest house, or not like a hotel, but like one of the cheaper kind of guest houses that you can stay in. And it was lovely until nighttime. And they give you a mosquito netting. But when I woke up, I just heard this little clicking, like this little.
Oh, no.
And I woke up and I was like, what the heck is that? And I flicked on the lights and there were about, I don't know, 10 or 15 cockroaches that just all
I don't like
ran
that.
down into the drain.
Nope.
And so then I had to go to the front desk and I said, yeah, hey, there's like a lot of cockroaches in my room. Is there something we could do about that? And so
they charged you extra?
No, I went out on a tour and I did my thing. And when I came back to the room, there was a can of Baygon on the dresser, and they're basically deal with it yourself. So I sprayed it down the drain and they started to run up the drain.
Oh, no.
I did not stay there another night. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to go to a different place.
I have so many cockroach in Taiwan stories. Like, brought my laundry home because I used to take it to a shop, get it done. And as I'm pulling my clothes out, a cockroach jumps out of the laundry basket and runs into my roommate's room.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And I said to him, like, there's a cockroach in your room. He's like, okay, I'll look for it. He couldn't find it.
No.
And then the next day, he put on his jeans and he walked out of his room, and the cockroach came out of the leg down his bare foot.
Oh.
So after that point, every time my laundry came home, it was like shaking outside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, if you don't know, Mike and I both lived in Taiwan for a number of years. And that's one of the things I texted him. I said, how did you live in Taiwan if you couldn't handle cockroaches? And he just texts back, it was tough.
I went through can after can after can of Raid and
there was lots of them out there. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. My first impression of this film was probably doubled up by both of yours. It looked like shit. It was old and grainy. Line delivery was awful. I'm going to get into the acting a little later, so I don't want to like harp on that. But the acting was poorly done. And I actually laughed out loud a couple of times at the way the lines were delivered. And I thought it was, kind of funny, I guess, in that respect. The special effects I thought weren't very good. Yeah, it's just a bad movie. It's just an old bad movie.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it, but that was my first impression of this film. Obviously, never seen it before. As soon as the opening shot hit, I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes. This thing is old as shit.
That's my first note. I was like,
and it looks like the road from Salem's Lot in the opening. And I was just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I immediately checked how long the movie was, too. I was like, no.
I know. I clicked down on my end. I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes. This is going to be an hour and 39 minutes of just this. And I do agree with you, Sam. It just plodded along, especially the last 45 minutes where he's in his cabin doing his research. It just took forever.
Yeah, just give us a cut scene, like a bunch of cuts of him doing
just,
it. Like,
just a montage. Like, use a montage.
Yeah.
They were out by then. I mean, Rocky made him famous. So let's do that up. So I just horrible. Okay, so now we're going to go into our tropes hall of shame. And actually, Mike, we'll hit you up first. What are a couple of your tropes?
My first trope is that the entity or the invasion or whatever comes from a heat wave or earthquake.
Oh, yeah, I had that one. Yeah.
I don't know if they mentioned the heat wave right at the beginning just to justify how sweaty the characters were later in the movie.
They were moist.
Oh, man, they were sweating the whole show. Yeah, it was just,
I just could imagine being in that church too, gross and stifling hot. It would
and they're in suits and yuck.
Some of them were waving their fans so slow, though. I'm like, does that even work? Like, it was like,
no,
no one else can see the hand gesture I'm making other than these two, but it's barely moving the air.
Yeah.
And then my other trope was the scientist that becomes obsessed with their experiment.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay, Sam, what are some of yours?
I had two, and the first one I had was the sermon that kind of predicts the shit that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one. And then on the same line there, learning exactly what's going on in the world in class. So they were already talking about species and different things. I'm like, cool.
I love when he bends down to talk to the squirrel. That was one of my laughed out. When he's like, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? It's this university course is just batshit crazy. I had a couple. One was you suffer a traumatic event and the cure for that is sleep. So he goes up to the daughter. I can't remember her name, nor do I care. Blonde lady. Anyways, he comes up there and he's like, you got to try to get some sleep. You got to try to get some sleep. It's the one that gets burned in the ear after. Yeah. just screaming. I was the whole movie. I was like, why don't you hit it off? I don't understand this.
Just take it off. Just take it off.
You're stealing all my later categories.
I'm sorry. We'll still talk about it. We don't need to not talk about it.
I know.
But yeah, and then I also had weird things happen in a heat wave. The very first line, he rolls up in the car. God damn, it's hot. I was like, okay, so we're obviously in an abnormal heat wave in this area.
And it was like a desert town.
Yes.
It was a
desert
that
town.
farm was not growing anything. No irrigation,
no vegetation
no drought
anywhere.
prevention.
No, I have no idea why they were even farming in that area.
The Dust Bowl. Just sanity.
Those were my two tropes. Mike, did you have another one?
And just my last one was connected to my other trope, but the scientists getting killed by their creation. So Parmenter getting killed by cockroaches.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to go into our one-liners. I'm going to give the first one. And a lot of my one-liners were not necessarily because the line themselves were funny, but the delivery was funny.
Okay.
And so my first one was the dad in the car. Easy, you're flooding it. It'll...
And then he continues to pump the gas
and then
pedal.
he does the exact same thing. He's like, hold on, let me get it started. And then he just keeps hitting the same fucking thing. And I was like, that's not how you unflood your car.
Sir, please stop.
So that whole scenario. My next one was, again, the blonde girl who you're not going to know the character, listeners, unless you look it up yourself because I'm not taking the effort. But it's Dad and Kenny are dead. Another stalled truck on the side of the road, and they go pick her up, and she's wrapped up in this blanket. I don't know why, but she's wrapped up in
a heat wave.
In a heat wave, she's wrapped up in this fucking blanket. And she, Dad, Kenny, you're dead. And I was, oh my God, just give me a break. And this was like within the first 10 minutes of the film, and that's also when I clicked to see how much more time I had. So those were my first two. Sam, what were your next two?
I had none. So
you had zero.
No lines.
Nothing stuck with you.
Nothing
okay.
memorable.
Well then, Mike,
Just the first, I think.
Mike, it's just you and me. What's some of yours?
My first one was just when they see that the cockroaches start fires by clicking whatever that is together, like their butt, their underbutt.
Yeah.
Underbutt?
Their underbutt.
Their underbutt as opposed to their upper butt.
I think we got ourselves a 6-legged Boy Scout here.
Oh God.
Just a dumb line.
Yeah.
And then my other one was like the most laugh out loud moment of the movie for me, where Parmenter's talking to his voice recorder, I think, and he's like, lately they've taken to forming different sorts of patterns. And I was like, oh, he must be talking about like the way they're moving, the way they're interacting together. And then it cuts to the newspaper. Yeah. And they formed a perfect rectangle. And then they start spelling on the fucking wall.
That was so weird.
Yeah, I know. It's like, holy shit, these are smart guys. Yeah.
Smart little fuckers.
Yeah. I had another one, the dishes line. When they're packing up all the dad's stuff. And what are we going to do with all these dishes? It's like, well, you could take them. A woman always needs extra dishes.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh my God, these guys. And then the other one was the professor, and he says, oh, they've got the bends. So these cockroaches came up from the ground, and they came up too quickly because they've got the bends, and they're not acting the way they're supposed to. So.
Oh my goodness.
The science in this film is just out of hand.
Very questionable. I don't know a lot about science, but
Okay, so we're going to move into our what doesn't hold up category. And so, Mike, what didn't hold up for you in this film?
So my first one we've already talked about, but it is the rolling floor during the earthquake.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like, I've been in earthquakes. The rattling at first of just the lights and then the build was pretty good.
Yeah.
But then suddenly the, I don't know, steamroller under the floor, like
Yes.
amusement
It's
park.
a wave. It's like the water park in West Edmonton Mall. Woo! Yeah, it just, and they're all like, oh, it's like Star Trek falling around. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just awful.
So bad. And then my other one is when Parmiter's wife, I think, is trying to decide what to make for dinner, and she starts listing off things from her cookbook.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
And I was just like, oh, 1970s cooking. Ugh. Smoked salmon snacks. I'm like, okay, we still do smoked salmon, but then dried beef snacks. Just sounds gross. Chicken mousse or pressed or jellied chicken.
and that's what she decided on. She's like,
Yeah,
perfect.
That sounds tasty. I'll have that.
Yeah. And I was just like, thank God we got out of the 70s with our food.
I did actually make a note of that. I said, oh my God, why are we watching her read the recipe book?
And why is she making her own birthday dinner? That made me sad.
Yeah.
And I know that's a very 70s thing. But
Yeah,
it was her
yeah.
birthday.
Yeah, but nobody did shit for people back then. It was all the woman, right? She
True.
did everything. So made her own cake and then said, "Hey, honey, I made my own cake." Sam, did you have any?
So I had those two as well. And then I also had the saloon doors.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Between
okay.
the living room and the kitchen.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so they had that. And then I said the scene where all the bugs were flying back into the hole.
Oh,
They're like on strings, just,
Yeah.
just flying back in. It was so bad.
Yes, it was very bad. Yeah. For me, a couple of my what doesn't hold up was number one, the pacing of the film. One of my notes was the in-between scenes of this movie are boring as shit. So the only thing that I liked was actually when the cockroaches were on and actually creating havoc. Everything else was just horrible, mainly because of the acting, I think, but they just didn't pace it very well. They spent way too much time in people's houses.
Yeah.
Like the one time where the guy's window is broken, the
I was just about to say, you didn't like the riveting scene where the contractor comes to fix the
Oh
window?
my gosh. The contractor comes in and they have a conversation. Then he eats a sandwich. And then the guy comes out, comes through a different door that we don't know that's the garage door. He came in through the front door. He's like, okay, I'll go get my tools. He left through the front door and then he came in the back garage door.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
I-
gotta say, can I park my car in your garage?
Okay, well, all
my
right.
God.
I missed that, but I was like, where the fuck? And then he says, oh, there's some clicking happening in your car. And then he goes
yeah.
out there and he inspects the car. The whole scene was just way, way too
All
long.
of them are
Yeah.
though. Like even
Yeah.
like the chick reading the recipe book.
Yes.
And then we had to listen to her full conversation. And then
On
we had
the
to listen to
phone,
the
yeah.
full sermon that lasted like 10 minutes.
Yes.
Like, it's everything was so
Everything was just very, very drawn out. When they first discovered the earthquake and they're talking about, the ground just opened up and all this, it was just, yeah.
And they keep flashing back to that. Like they keep walking back to the
Yeah.
fucking slit in the ground. We're like, it's the same as it was before.
Yes.
Yes. Like, come on.
So that, and then I also had the special effects were pretty bad. Now, I thought this was actually pretty funny. So this could have been that stood the test of time or it doesn't hold up. It is when they light the people on fire.
Oh.
So when the bug falls in her hair and she
that was
lights on
amazing.
fire, I laughed. It was probably the most amazing scene. But you could tell the hard cut between her screaming and her wig starting on fire, which is well behind her, which, okay, yeah, please don't start her actual wig on fire while you're filming.
But you can hear the pop of the
Yes.
powder going.
And then they do a cut where she's running into her living room, and it's so obvious that this is a stuntman. That is like the body is just nowhere near what the body double they used was just nowhere near. And she's flailing about, and oh man, it was awesome, but also very poorly done.
And I don't know if this is going to steal someone else's doesn't hold up, but like how incendiary 1970s fabrics were. Like,
just like gasoline was on everything. These things click and start a little bit of a spark and kaboom. That was my other one with the special effects. The exploding of the cars, like right away, just in an instant.
Yeah.
These things start a fire. It melts through the floor of the car almost instantly, and then yeah. So those were my two. Sam, did you have any others?
My last one was with the special effects of the floor or like the ground sealing back up.
Oh, yes.
After he was in, I was like, is he a sacrifice? Like, and then it just like closes back up, and I was like, lame.
That's not how Earth works.
No.
Yeah, I didn't get
Science.
that either. So that was my question. At the end, I clicked, this could be hiding in the shadows, but I was, well, how much time do we have left? And I said, there's only 5 minutes left in this film. How are they going to solve this problem? And then he starts on fire and falls into the chasm, and then the chasm starts to close, and all the bugs go back in. And I was like, why the fuck is that happening?
I don't get it at all.
They're looking for his
no
ashes.
explanation as to why they would follow him down and go back into the earth. I just didn't get it. So, okay. All right, moving on to most gratuitous scene. I'm going to start that one, and I only had one. My most gratuitous scene were the sweat stains on the doctor's back and pits. I said he had the same sweat stain on every single shirt, the little V down the back.
Yeah.
And then always on his pits. Yeah, that was my gratuitous.
It was goddamn hot.
It's so hot.
Heat wave.
Mike, you have a couple?
Yes. This first one we've talked about, the fire that starts in her hair and engulfs everything.
Yes.
Was just gratuitous amount of fire.
Yep.
And then my other one, I put her/Sylvia. So I think that's the name of the friend, the woman that brings the Bible.
Oh, yeah, that gets it in the eye?
Yeah. And like just her screaming was just, oh my God.
Forever.
Even the screaming with the bug on the ear. Like,
Yeah.
Like you said, just hit it off.
Yeah.
Get it off.
Why
Why can't someone else just pick it off? Like, just
Well, they do show when the guy tries to take it, they show him touch the bug and then he's like, ow! Like the
Right.
bug itself is like really, really hot. So then they burn that paper and then stick it by her ear, and the burning paper attracts the bug.
because of the ashes.
Because it eats the ashes. I'm sorry, but if my ear is being burnt and I'm in extreme pain, I'll burn my fingers to get rid of whatever
I
the
will
fuck
rip
it is.
that
Can
thing
you
out.
imagine getting like burned inside the
Like,
ear canal?
oh.
Like, oh my God.
People aren't going to like touch it and go, ow! Ow! It is burning inside you. You're
just
gonna
smack it. Like, you
just-
don't need to hold on to it for
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just smack it off. Jesus.
So, Sam, did you have a gratuitous?
Yeah, I had one here, and it was just the cat lighting on fire was pretty awful. I found that kind of disturbing.
So I actually put, I hate this movie. They killed the cat.
Yeah.
Or I said they hurt the cat. I was like, there's no way they're going to kill it.
Oh, and then,
Oh, no.
And then they did.
And then
Oh,
it
yeah.
brings it in a box just to remind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings it back later. And like it was
So-
slow and awful. And I was like, it is the 70s. I was like, I hope it's not a real cat. Like, but
I hope not. too.
I don't think it was. But
Well, now you're making me think about, I would hope they used the double for that. Like that's, but it was
awful.
very disturbing. The
And
way
very
it was,
long.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Like every other shot in this
yes.
movie, it was super long and it was meowing and in pain, and and it was riling around. I do not like this at all.
No, it was pretty awful.
And with that, terrifying or titillating is our next category. I found nothing terrifying or titillating about this film, so we're going to move over to Mike.
And I did not find anything titillating, but I just wrote terrifying. I hate cockroaches, capital H. The kitchen sink. When she looks at it just skeeved me out.
Yeah.
And this movie took so long for me to watch because I did have to keep pausing it and then watching like something enjoyable on my phone just to get over the phobia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not because of the plot, not because
Right.
of the device,
just
the
the
fucking
gross
cockroaches.
Yeah. So now, stood the test of time. There's not a lot, but Sam, you're going to kick us off with that one. What stood the test of time in this movie for you?
I thought the shots overall of the cockroaches and how they captured the noises, them moving, essentially everything that Mike hated. I thought they did a really good job with that. They were pretty creepy and gross.
Yeah,
It triggered me, so they had to be good.
Yeah. And then I also said the one scene where they like depressurized, they like stabbed the cockroach.
Oh,
and
that
it,
was
like-
mine. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
That one, like, I don't know what part of the cockroach is. That black thing just like keeps shooting out like a party streamer.
They slow-moed it and it just just exploded. I was,
It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
Yeah, so I like that. That's it for me.
Okay. Mike, did you have any?
Yeah, I'm going to take the ire of the group. As upsetting as it was to watch, the cat scene when the cat gets attacked.
Oh, yeah.
It was upsetting. It was hard to watch. My cat did not like Lexi doesn't really respond to animals' sounds anymore. Like she's 18, she's smart, she knows when it's a video.
Right.
But even she was like walking around the room trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
So I'm not saying it was a test of time because like, yes, let's watch it again. But, like, it was well done. So I gave it the test of time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I had the explosion of the cockroaches, but then I thought the eating of the meat was actually pretty gross.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so when they put the chunks of meat into the cage, which he forgets to lock twice, which
You have one thing that you're doing.
one job, you idiot.
Put a chopstick through it.
Yeah, like, and after the first time it got out, why would you leave it open the second time?
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyways, when they started eating that was pretty gross.
But it's so funny to think how long he left that steak there, because wasn't he cooking dinner for himself?
Yes.
And he just left it and he kind of turned around and then he turned, because they eat so slowly.
Yeah.
You can see them like eating the little ashes. And then he turns out, he's like, ooh.
Yeah, like ate half his steak, right?
What the fuck? Like, how
They were
long was
super
he?
eaters. Yeah.
The scene where they've got the sandwich in the kitchen and like he leaves it uncovered for a while, then goes and picks it up and starts eating it. This was upsetting for me because I just pictured like biting and like having a cockroach come out of the middle of the sandwich. There were so many more things that my imagination fucked with me over this movie.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go into our eerie to ear splitting. And so, Mike, what was eerie to ear splitting for you in this film?
Same thing that Sam already mentioned, the cockroach clicks.
Yeah.
And the high pitched kill music I thought was pretty good. Like it was just it upset my ear.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was unnerving for me.
Sam?
I actually had the same thing. And I found over time it got kind of annoying.
Yes.
But I think that was kind of like
The point.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
point of it, right? So it was like that weird radio frequency.
Yeah.
That's like too high pitched. And
Yep.
I liked it. I thought it became too much, but then that symbolizes, of course, the amount of cockroaches and that kind of thing too. So it builds on it.
Yeah. So that's 3 in a row.
Yeah.
The sounds and the music and what they use to portray what a cockroach sound like. And all the time there was always this hiss or click. Even when they escaped the cage or even when they were just hanging out in the tailpipe of a car, they always had that awful sound. And so I think they hit the nail on the head with that. Like I think it was supposed to make us annoyed by the end. All right. We're moving on into our what the fuck moment. I'll go first with this one. My big one was, why are these cars exploding so quickly?
Yeah. That was mine as well, actually.
That was the only one I had. Mike, did you have another one?
I just had they can spell.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a
they're
good
super
one.
cockroaches. Yeah.
At one point when it did the X, I was like, oh my God, if it makes an O, if they start doing like hugs and kisses, I'm like,
XOXO.
And Sam, you and I had the same one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this movie. All right. Back it up moments. Sam, you didn't have any back it up
No,
moments
God,
for this
no.
one? No, God, no.
Nope.
Mike, I find it odd that you had one with this film, seeing as it took you like increments to get through
It
it.
can't have a cockroach in it at all.
it does not.
But
there we
what
go.
is your back it up moment?
More just because it was absolutely hilarious, and it's something, Chad, that you've talked about already, but it was the first, like, you're flooding the engine, let me start it.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
the fire comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just made me laugh so hard. So I just, like, I could rewatch that scene because it was so hilarious.
Well, and engulfs the whole truck in a minute. Like
Yeah.
not even a minute, like in 5 seconds. It's just bang, and everybody's burning to
Everyone's
death.
dead.
Nobody gets out of the car or stop, drop, and rolls. Like,
I was yelling when the one lady's wig, like hair cut
Yeah,
off. I was
yeah.
like, stop, drop, and roll.
if Webster taught me anything.
oh my God.
Hit the ground.
Yeah, my back it up was the lady with the wig that where she starts on fire. I laughed so hard that I backed it up and watched it again. And now we're moving into hiding in the shadows. We'll start with Sam here. What were some of your hiding in the shadow moments?
I had 2. My first one was, why don't they just take them off, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Just remove them. And then my second one was, I just thought it was so funny, the weird cockroach sex scene that they like cut. They're like, oh, we found a way they can reproduce. And then we watch the one mount the other, and then it like cuts to white.
I was going to put that in the terrifying or titillating.
I was going to too. And I was going to make a comment. The cockroach sex scene
porn.
didn't. But they did cut it, but it was so funny.
It would have been hilarious if they put some music in the background, some Barry White. And oh, yeah. Boo, boo, boo.
So weird.
It's like a weird like insect thrust.
I know.
You did it, and they didn't really need to. They could just there could just be an egg sac the next day. And
Yeah,
they'd be like,
yeah.
oh, gee, they found a way to reproduce, but instead it's this weird sex scene.
That was one of mine and I didn't quite catch this. I think I was looking at my phone or distracted but when they were talking about this, but they said they were going to breed them out. Like if they bred, they were going to die.
Yeah.
And then he had them breed, but then the egg sac came and then he just kept breeding them. So there were more and more of these egg sacs. The first time that they did breed, the male cockroach died and he said it was a success. He died. So we'll be able to, I think, breed them out of existence. But then they just kept having eggs.
What I didn't get is it was the smaller cockroach, like the regular cockroach, that mounted the big.
Right.
So like either it was a cowgirl cockroach scene or
Jesus Christ.
Oh, dear.
Oh, we're going to a dark place with cockroach sex scenes in this film. Yeah, I just didn't get it. And then I had another one, which was, we have mentioned several times, why didn't they just rip them off? He did rip them off.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was the only one that did. And he was able to touch them and like get them off his belly. And there were like 6 of them on him or something
Yeah,
like
the little
that.
like marks and
Yeah, like the
little drippy-
leeches and Stand By Me or whatever. So I was just like, well, why is he able to do that, but everybody else can't touch them?
Yeah, I don't know.
There was some inconsistency there. So, Mike, did you have any?
A couple we've already talked about, but the other ones that I have, I didn't understand this. During the earthquake, there's people at the church doors like trying to open them, can't get out. And then the earthquake stops and they all leave the church, no problem. So it's like, what the fuck? And then he falls into the pit. We've talked about that, but there's an explosion. Like, why does he explode when he falls into the pit?
He's on fire. I don't know. Everything explodes that's
True,
on
yeah.
fire, like in this film. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is in the scene with the woman, the recipe book lady who starts on fire, they use the double to like run around and be on fire.
Yeah.
But with him, they almost superimposed the flames like
Right.
just kind of in front of him. So he was screaming like he was on fire, but you could totally tell he was not, which leads to my negative review of the special effects. But I was like, why didn't they just use that guy to do it again? He looked more like the professor than he did the lady.
It's a man.
All right, moving on into our bonus features. Sam, let's have you kick us off for this one.
William Castle wanted as a gimmick to install brushes near the seats that would rub against theater patrons' legs to simulate bugs crawling on them during the Mike shaking his head. He's like, no.
I read that one too, and I was like, I would have been out of that theater so fucking fast.
It would have been awful, like, honestly.
Do you have another one?
The home where the lady was set on fire by the bug was the same home used in The Brady Bunch in 1969.
Oh, nice.
Riveting, yeah.
I had a couple. According to producer William Castle, director Jeannot Szwarc approached him with a problem. Joanna Miles was deathly afraid of cockroaches and obviously didn't want them crawling on her. When Castle tried to demonstrate how harmless they were by having one crawl on his own arm, he was bitten.
Yeah, because they're fucking evil things.
This was the last film William Castle worked on, and most of the cockroach models used in this production were made by Carolee Fogassi, whose day job was a technical illustrator at the University of California at Riverside. For years afterwards, visitors to the studio on campus were treated to the stares of the creepy bugs.
Gross.
Mike, did you have any?
So the first thing I have, I couldn't find the budget for the film, but the box office, it did 3.6 million domestic and over 8 million worldwide.
Wow.
So depending on what the budget was, it might have done well.
Probably made a little bit of money, yeah.
Yeah. And then just a couple things sort of connecting this to Jaws. This was released in the theater on the same day as Jaws, the first film.
Oh.
Oh.
So maybe that's why it didn't do well. No, it didn't do well. It was terrible. But then Jeannot Szwarc went on to direct Jaws 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, like, I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
Jaws
Bug
2 actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so stepped up to his built skills.
That's right. Sam, did you have any others?
I just had a couple things. So some lines that kind of described the film here as my last one. So it was like bug. And then it was like, you may be their next meal. Bug, they kill. Bug, the picture you see with your eyes closed. Bug, out of the worst nightmare. And then bug, they look like rocks, possess a high intelligence, have no eyes, eat ashes. They travel in your car exhaust. They make fire. They kill.
Oh my God.
I was laughing at them. They look like rocks. They have no eyes.
They travel in your...
They eat ash. So I was-
Oh, man. Mike, did you have any others?
I just have the international titles. For Argentina and a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, there was Infernal Invasion. Belgium was The Fire Insects. Denmark, The Horror from the Depths of the Earth.
Okay.
Greece, Winged Nightmare.
Okay.
Japan, Burning Insect Army.
That's my fave so far.
Portugal, The Invaders Who Came from the Center of the Earth. It's a little wordy and a little off. And then Sweden's just, that can't be true.
False. Yeah, right.
When I was watching the film, one of my questions was like, everybody seems to know that you can burn newspaper and these cockroaches will just come off there and be attracted. Like everybody knew that,
Yeah.
it seemed. So I Googled it and I was like, do they do that? And it was 5 things you never knew were attracting cockroaches. One of them is moisture.
Okay.
So they prefer dark, moist environments. A
Okay.
source of water and moisture can be potential lure. Strong odors, apple pie scented potpourri.
It's really specific.
It is, yeah. You put out might be interpreted as an open invitation to a free buffet. Unsealed bowl of sugar or open box of sweet cereal can also seduce their senses.
Seduce their
Yeah,
senses.
there you go.
Oh.
Your neighbors. That's one of the categories. If you live in an apartment attached house and your neighbors aren't as clean as you'd like them to be, you could become the unfortunate host of bugs to wander over your space. Cardboard and paper. Old boxes and piles of paper might not look edible to us, but roaches consider fibrous organic materials as a major food group.
Oh.
If you have a stack of boxes, especially if they're sitting undisturbed in a dark space, you can be sure that roaches will find it attractive.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Pet supplies. A pet's water bowl is a pool of bliss to a thirsty roach, sitting right next to its free buffet of kibble. Yeah. If you have an established cockroach problem, try feeding your pet several times a day instead of leaving food out. Store pet food in an airtight plastic container and avoid placing food in dark corners. So yeah, those are top 5 ways that you are attracting cockroaches to your house. The biggest one that I didn't know about cardboard and paper. I didn't know that they really like to eat that stuff. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. So anyways, that wraps that up. Okay, so watchability scale. Let's hit that out of 10. Sam, what would you give this?
A 1.
Okay, yeah, right away. Oh,
1. I hated it.
yeah. Mike?
It's a 1. If you want to be scared by cockroaches, watch an insect documentary. This
Yeah.
isn't worth it. It's a 1.
Yeah, it's a 1 because I can't give it a 0. But actually, if you were going to watch it, I would say watch the lady start on fire and maybe the cockroach sex scene. I don't know, like
If you're into that.
if you're into that, I mean, it's something they do hiss a lot. So, but yeah, it's a 1 for me. It didn't really do just. As we started it, just even the overall look of the film, I was like, "Oh God, this is gonna be a rough one." So yeah, it's a 1 for me. All right. Thank you very much for listening to us. Remember to follow us on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and a page where you can recommend movies you want us to discuss. And please rate, comment on, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Until next time, this has been Chad and
Sam?
Mike.
Mike?
Scare you later.